Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the Cutie Art Crusaders for Tuesday, September the 10th, 2013. Welcome back, guys. We're short one member for today, but I think we can handle it. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and this week's editor, and today I'm joined by...
I'm FlutterGuy317, and I am the media manager.
And I am AtmoSpark. I do questions, and I also monitor the DeviantArt page.
So we are short a burned.
We don't know where he is.
I think he's still sleeping at this point.
Probably.
And we have no idea where he is, but I guess that means it's a three-man show today.
I wonder if he defected to Alaska.
He went to go visit his children.
Yeah.
He got deported to his own country.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because that whole children thing backfired on me.
Yeah.
Because I made the children joke about his Eskimo children on April 1st, and then someone made fan art of the fact that it's like my children too, which is just disappointing.
Max and Burned
overall.
OTP.
So I can no longer make that joke because it gets weird.
Why?
Nah,
because
it's never weird.
you haven't visited them in a while, or
It's my secret shame.
You are a neglectful father.
Oh, stop that. Also, I was the mother.
That makes sense.
Just clarification. I mean,
yeah, you know.
you gotta get it right.
That makes sense.
So yeah. In news this week, I'm back at school. Yay!
Yay!
University, so much fun.
I have to go and vote after recording this podcast today. Yay!
Yeah, well, both of
Yay.
you are already responsible adults who are finished all of that school crap. So you guys get to have nothing change because you guys are still working during the summer.
We get to go back to work and stuff. Yeah.
Yay.
But I'm going back to school, or I, as of recording, am back in school. So that'll be fun. Yay!
Yay.
I have to wake up at 7 a.m. every single morning, which is a complete adjustment from my 1 a.m.
I
Yeah, we-
feel for you.
No,
I
you
wake up
don't.
at 4:30 every day.
See,
or
but-
5.
But now we all wake up early, so I feel like we can relate on another level now.
Yeah.
Because now I feel your pain. I felt I had sympathy for you before. Now I have empathy. See how it works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Rainbow Plasma have been trying to get to bed earlier, and it's just not
And failing.
working. Yeah.
Trying and failing.
Yeah. Or at least at the time of this recording. Who knows? By Tuesday, maybe we'll
Maybe we'll be pros.
Yeah. No.
It's not likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, we've got art to get to, even if we don't have our art aficionado here today for some
I know it's
reason.
gonna be weird not having his ramblings, but
He's gonna miss doing this episode because he had to go to work last week, so he didn't even get to pick out these art pieces. So he's gonna miss the entirety of this episode.
yeah.
Well, maybe emergency came up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe he'll come in halfway and be like,
No, I'm gonna kick him out.
All right, so as was posted on the screen last week, our theme for this week is reflections.
Wait. That reminds me. So first of all, I did put reflections on the screen, didn't I?
Yes, you put reflections on the
okay.
screen.
But I also messed up something last week
Oh,
in the
yeah.
editing. I think I
You
cut
messed up pretty good.
some of you out. Yeah.
Yeah, the first
you
question was cut
You
out.
cut me out, and you left the second question on the screen the whole time.
Yeah, well, the problem is, in my editing software, which I was editing on a live stream, so somebody should have caught this, but in my editing software, when I copy-paste text, I have two options. I can either have it so it's, two different objects, so that they're both, separate from each other, or I can have them as, a connected object, so that if I make one change to one of them, it changes the other one, and I accidentally did that option. So when I changed the second one, it also changed the first one. And, sorry about that. I'm not going to go back and edit it. It's just going to stay the way it is, because I've been exhausted with work and school and stuff for my first week. So yeah, you can go back and just laugh at me for that one, but I promise to be better this week, I hope.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. This theme is reflections.
Yes.
I didn't mean to sidetrack there.
So we looked at quite a few pieces of art involving some reflections, some pretty cool reflections, actually. So our first piece is called Reflection by Naishi Errol, who is a fantastic artist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this piece of art is really, really well done.
Well, the interesting thing about this piece of art was something that we didn't notice until maybe 10 minutes ago. If you take a look at it, we've got Twilight sitting on some sort of like a log in the forest, maybe, and she's sitting over like a river or a pond or something. And the interesting thing is we didn't notice this at all, but if you look at her at the top, she's a unicorn, but if you look at the bottom, she's an alicorn.
Yeah.
And I completely missed the fact that she had wings on the bottom.
Yeah.
I believe this piece was made when the rumors of the whole alicorn thing were going around, and people were making art pieces about it. So I guess this is the artist's interpretation of like, I don't know, the future.
Well, when did season 3 end? Because this was uploaded at the start of February.
Yeah, no, season 3 ended after that.
Yeah, it definitely ended after that. February.
I think it was
Okay.
like mid-March, maybe.
Maybe April.
Can't remember.
No, it wasn't April.
No.
Oh, that's gonna bug me. You guys keep going. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay. So yeah, that's one of the cool things about doing like reflection pieces is that you can change what the reflection is slightly. So like in this piece, it's Twilight reflecting on what she's going to become at the end of season 3, which is an alicorn, which is pretty cool.
How can
For
you
the record-
reflect on something that hasn't happened yet?
I think it was just they're reflecting on the possibility.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it was almost like this was from the fandom's point of view. Like this is the fandom reflecting on what could be. You know.
Well, to me,
Mm.
like I don't think that's reflection. I think this is her sitting on a log,
Foreshadowing?
looking down into a pool of just plain water and seeing the future. She's
Uh,
not. It's not a reflection. It's a prediction, or it's something that's going
It's
to
a
happen.
literal reflection. It's
Yeah.
a literal reflection. That's the thing. It's not like a metaphysical.
Because this was made before we knew what was going on, it can't be a reflection because it hasn't happened yet.
No,
It's-
but we mean like a literal reflection, as in a
it's
reflection
not
in
a-
the water.
metaphorical reflection.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
For the record, the air date of Magical Mystery Cure was the 16th of February.
Oh,
So-
so this like came out right before it.
This one was uploaded when Games Ponies Play, which was the second last episode, aired.
So that was about the time when
So
the
that-
whole hype of Eloquai thing started.
I think this was after they released a trailer that remember they had a trailer that was
Mhm.
totally spoilery because that's what the hub does, and I hate them for it. And they had some sort of trailer where Fluttershy was quoted being like, "You look like a princess," and then everyone was like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
I think it was after that, so it was basically inevitable by then.
The trailers are always so like,
I hate
know,
them.
I know. They're so towards the target audience.
I never watched them.
Yeah, I try to avoid them.
Yeah.
But this piece is really cool because I think while you're right, it's not a literal reflection. It would have been interesting if it was the other way around. Like if she was an
It is a
alicorn.
literal reflection.
It is.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
not a figurative reflection.
Sorry. Anyways, you know what I mean. It would have been interesting if it was the other way around, where she was an alicorn on the log,
Yeah,
but she was looking down to the water
See,
and seeing
that-
her.
that would make more sense to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Although
Yeah.
it is, we're doing reflections, not just literal reflections. It can also be figurative reflections. But in this case, it's a literal reflection. She can see herself in the pool. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what's really interesting is based on when this was made, gives it a completely different weight. As we were mentioning, in this piece, it was made around the time when people basically knew that she was going to be an alicorn, right? The week before, we kind of all knew. There was rumors going around for months, but we finally all kind of knew. We were like, this is happening next week.
Mhm.
And so like I said, Twilight's almost like the fans, you know? They're looking into the future and they're saying they're looking at this inevitable thing coming towards them and all the emotions that have to do with that, in the fandom. And I think this person is kind of putting the fandom's thoughts and emotions into Twilight in this piece.
yeah, that was the week the fandom died.
Yeah, because the fandom's dramatic and everyone realizes now that it's
Yeah.
fine, but
It is so dramatic.
so
I really like the style used in this art piece
yeah.
because it's very reminiscent of watercolor, even though the whole thing is digital painted. But just
it's got a lot
just
of
the
layering in it.
texture and it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of I can't remember the name of the artist that we mentioned in the painting episode, who also
Blixer?
does the other watercolor artist.
Well, that's not helpful.
You guys
Look it up.
you guys
Look
keep
it up.
talking. I'm gonna
Look it
look it
up.
up.
Well, I also quite like the style of it, where she's got it's her actual body shape is quite rounded and smooth, but if you look at her tail, it's crooked. It's like angular.
Yeah, that's really
It's
interesting.
angular and bent, so you got two different styles there in the one character, which I quite like.
Mm-hmm.
It,
Yeah.
it works well together.
It's really interesting.
It's
I don't really.
sorry, it's Jezzy Bing who
Oh,
did the Voodoo Brew piece.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was the episode I wasn't there for, so
Yeah.
but I edited.
Sorry for
Um,
cutting you off. Go on.
no, no, it's fine. I was just, it would be interesting to hear from the artist why they chose to make that tail crooked. Um, it must have. I feel like to the artist at least, it must have some sort of meaning behind it. Um, but I can't think of anything at the moment.
Yeah. It's kind of it's kind of cool. It's well, I mean, if you look at like the tree also right behind like where the artist's signature is, that's also kind of crooked. There's a lot of like crooked things in the piece, I think. So maybe that's
I wonder what those little balls are next to the signature.
why. I don't know.
Mushrooms.
Could be mushrooms. But what I was going to point out is that you've got Twilight sitting there. She's really bright, really vivid colours. And then you look down at the reflection in the water and it's dull colours. A lot of people that I've seen when I was looking for art to feature in this episode, they make the reflection the same colour as the original subject, which isn't
Right.
the case. Like if you go and look at your reflection in a pool of water, you're always washed out, you're always dulled. But if you look at yourself in a mirror, it's different because it's designed to be a reflective surface. In this one here, you've got the pool of water, which it's not always going to be purely clear water. It's murky, it's got bird gack in it, it's got all that sort of stuff in it that makes the water a bit murky, so you're going to be a bit dulled and washed out. Also, I've just noticed the reflection on the underside of the log from the sun, which is cool.
Well, I think it depends on what people are trying to go to, because we've got a couple of pieces that aren't quite as murky as you say, and I think again that's kind of the difference between the physical reflection and the
Spiritual.
the physical as opposed to the spiritual reflection, because in this one it's a very physical one, and you're right.
Yeah.
If it is a physical one, obviously your reflection is going to be very dull. It's going
Exactly,
to kind of
yeah.
see through. Anybody who's looked at water and seen a reflection knows that it's not a perfect reflection.
It's like a ghostly image.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good of the artist to recognize that it is a literal reflection, as and appropriately use it.
That's a good way of distinguishing. That's the word, between literal and figurative.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the pieces that we wanted to bring up, but we've already featured this one, was Reflect by Mewball, and I'll just post it on the screen really quick here. But we've already talked about it in a different episode. But like, that one's weird because it breaks all the rules that we're just talking about right now, because it's a literal reflection, but it's also a mirror pool, so it's pretty clear, and it's kind of figurative too. So.
Well, I quite like that one.
Yeah, you can have surfaces that aren't like mirrors be perfectly reflective, and it's also something to the artistic style. Although that is a mirror pool, so yeah.
I just wanted to on that Mooble one again. I just wanted to point at something. I don't know if we were talked. I don't think I was here when we talked about it. I don't know, but the way that Mooble's drawn it is you can't tell which is the reflection and which is the real one. That really jumps out at me. I love that. I love art pieces that play with perspectives like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree. I really do enjoy Neishi's take on this, where he or she has that kind of murky reflection. It's a she.
Yeah.
She has that reflection of Twilight, and it's kind of murky and not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. I love like the messy medium that the artist uses. It's very reminiscent of Hussey's style, kind of, with large brushstrokes and stuff. But it's a different medium, obviously. But
I mean, the interesting thing is you say messy, but it's not. I mean, it's messy in terms of brushstrokes, but it's not messy to the eye at all.
No, it's
very contained,
Yeah. But it's the same thing like with digital painting or any other type of painting that uses like large brushstrokes. It's it's technically a messy medium, but it's pleasing to the eye, and you can't really like discern it unless you look into it.
Cool.
Yeah. So our next piece is called Digitize by Discommunicator. And this is more along the lines of a figurative / spiritual reflection.
I love this type of thing.
Yeah. This is Discommunicator obviously should be known to all of you as an amazing sketch artist who does a lot of original ideas with the sketches that he does.
Mm-hmm.
For example, adding a lot of lighting effects to his sketch, to just plain sketches that he adds lighting effects to, other things like that. A very, very talented artist, very smart, and very creative artist. Someone who uses a lot of new things, and this is a perfect example of that. So in this
Yeah.
piece, you see the two sides of art and the two sides of Pinky. You've got on the left-hand side, he's using Paint Tool Psi, and he's drawn Pinkie Pie digitally, and on the right side he's got a pencil and he's drawn Pinkie Pie in a pencil sketch, and it's kind of like they're looking at each other through this world, through this breaking the bounds between digital and physical.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really really cool concept, and we've seen a lot of pieces that have had interactions between it. For example, you'll have a lot of pieces where someone puts their like finger on the screen or something, and then they draw around it, and then they put their finger back in like through Photoshop and stuff, or these cool things like that. Or but this is a really, I like it when people interact real life things with digital things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something like this where you got two different mediums talking to each other or playing with each other. I've actually had an idea in my head, something quite like this for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's not like a pure reflection. Like there's no there is a reflection line, but where
there's no surface that it's reflecting off.
Yeah, and where the hooves touch, there's kind of like this star, and the mediums kind of clash. Like if you look at the left side, which is Paint Tool Psi, you get these like bands where it's like a pen sketch again, and a textured paper kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, like you can take, if you look at each side, you can see there's bits of the other one in that sketch. You can also tell just by looking at, for example, the mains, you can tell it's pretty much the exact same sketch. Like he's just traced over the one that he's drawn in Psi. But then if you look at the, like I said, the digital version, on the left-hand side, you can see bits of the white coming through from the right-hand side from the traditional one. And then if you look at the traditional one, she's got pink shading like it's a reflection from the digital side. Like you can see the pinks come across that barrier.
She's got a lot of lighting reflects. She's got a lot of lighting reflection on her, a lot of pink lighting reflection. So obviously the artist not only made those two sketches and then put them together, but he's also he's also done a lot of work into making it like a scene, where there is that light in between the two of them, and it's both affecting them in different ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought that this is a really great example of reflection that isn't necessarily just look pony looking into water. It's a spiritual reflection. It's a reflection. Pinkie Pie is looking at herself in a different medium and looking at a different world entirely, breaking through that world as she's oft to do.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really cool concept. And I like I said before, I just love when artists are, there's a difference between a creative artist and an artist who is creative. It's a weird distinction to make, but just because an artist is talented does not mean that they're necessarily tremendously creative.
Mm-hmm.
And I love seeing these concepts, these radically new ideas that people have.
Yeah. It's kind of speaks like on a whole nother level because your traditional pencil sketch and stuff it's a very old medium too, and now on the left side we have the new medium, digital and stuff, and it's kind of like digital medium is reflecting back on the traditional medium.
Yeah.
And then we can become even more like English teachers and then read even more into it. English teachers always read more into the book than the author intended.
Yeah.
But if you look at it like the right hand side, the traditional art Pinky is sad, whereas the left hand side, the digital art is sort of you sort of get.
She's happy.
I don't know. Is she happy or is she?
Yeah, she's happy.
Yeah, she's happy.
I don't.
You know what it looks like to me?
I don't see happy. I see. But let me just finish what I'm saying, please.
Okay, sure.
The right-hand side Pinky, the traditional artist, she looks, like I said, she looks sad, but I get from this whole thing a sense of moving away from old and going to new. So the left-hand side, the digital pinky is the new, looking back at where she came from, where traditional art was, where sketching was. And that's why the old pinky is sad, because she doesn't get drawn traditionally very much anymore. Whereas the digital art one is done all the time. And
we have a similar view on how it is. I agree. I think it's a reflection in the literal sense of like you're looking back and you're looking back on the past. But I don't think I think the scene that being portrayed here, I don't think the right Pinkie Pie is sad. She's just shocked, or she's just not understanding what she's seeing. And the left Pinkie Pie is saying, "Here, come here. Let me show you what we can do. Let me show you the future. Let me show you what all these amazing things that we can do with digital art." You know, it's almost like the left Pinkie Pie is saying, "Come with me. Like I can show you all these new cool things," and the right Pinkie Pie is like, "I don't get it." You know?
Yeah.
I get sad, and I figured out how to say it. Left-hand side, digital pinky is like looking back on a happy memory, but knowing that it's not
nostalgic.
Yeah, like nostalgic, happy nostalgic. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I get from the piece too. Maybe not necessarily sad on the traditional side, but definitely nostalgic on the digital side. It looks like.
Yeah.
But that's just one interpretation.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different interpretations.
Yeah.
I feel good. I've released my inner English teacher.
There's an aspect in this art piece also that a lot of people are afraid to do, and that's include their environment in their finished piece.
Yeah.
Of course, you can only do it cleverly, but what Discommunicator has done here is he said, "Hey, look, I'm not going to just make these two different, digital and traditional, but I'm also going to show you." He shows you a lot of the window that he's making the digital art in, and then on the other side, the reflection of that is the pencil that he used to draw the pinky. Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's something that you don't, most art doesn't show you the tools that's being used to make the art, which is, again, just a really creative thing. It's an addition. It wasn't necessary to do that, but it's a really creative addition, I think.
Yeah. It kind of also, adds to the whole reflectiveness of the medium, because, it's like, this is digital art and this is the tool that we use to create it, and this is traditional art and this is the tool that we use to create it, and then this like meeting of the worlds in the middle, kind of,
An explosion of deviant art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, something on this piece. Something about this piece has to do with the watermark.
I'll buy it so that
we've had to pay for this in order to get the download to put it on the show. So if you go when you go on our favorites folder and you look at it, it's gonna have a watermark on it. We can't do anything about that. If you want to get it yourself, then talk to Discommunicator or just buy it. But yeah, yay for watermarks. Yeah. That's a shame, but I don't know. I think the Discommunicator kind of does that semi-frequently.
Yeah. Well, he's more of a professional artist, like.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that people who like put their art out there on DeviantArt aren't professional, but he sells, or he at least sells this piece. And I think he sells some other stuff too. So. Yeah. So that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, does anyone else have anything else to say about this piece?
Nope.
Okay. So our next piece, well, there's 3 pieces that we're gonna feature, and they all feature.
Yeah, it's weird.
Luna. Yeah, this is kind of a weird episode. In the fact that we had these 2 pieces, and now we have these 3 pieces, which are kind of all clumped together, which is it's basically Luna and Nightmare Moon reflecting on each other.
So let's make an order out of this, because we've got 3, like you said, we've got 3 pieces that all have kind of the same theme, but they all approach them differently and have different reflections and different styles and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we look at each piece individually, 1, 2, 3, and then we can have a group thought about all 3 together.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So our first piece is called Regrets and Reflections by Steve Holt is Cool. And this, well, do we want to just introduce all the pieces and then kind of go through them?
Let's just do this first one. Let's just do this first one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I picked this one, so I'm talking about it.
Go ahead.
I found this one and it instantly spoke to me. I love it. But for some reason it's not my favorites. Oh, yes, it is. No, this one I found like straight away, and like I said, it's one of the favorites of mine. It's sort of both. It's not really literal reflection, even though she is standing in water and looking into the water. It's very literal, very figurative reflection, and that's
There you go.
one. Yeah, thank you. They have derailed me, but anyway, that's one of my
Keep going.
that's one of my favorite things. I love figurative reflection, looking back at something instead of just looking into a mirror. This Luna looking down and seeing Nightmare Moon. It's great. It shows that she remembers that it's not just this happened in the past and now it's gone. She remembers it. It's still there. It's still part of who she is. And then you got. I mean, that's just that. That's the meaning behind it. Then you've got all the other artwork related stuff. You got the lighting. You got the shadows. You got. I mean, there is a little bit of reflection there under her sister's shadow, but then you got it. Then it's flipped. So you got Princess Luna being lit from above, and all the shadings come from that moon from above her, and then it's flipped, and you go look at Nightmare Moon. Again, it's all lit from above, but there is no moon. So it's lit from above her head and all that. All the shading is from top down, which is upside down. But if you actually rotate the image, it still works.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you look, the trees are mirrored. So I think the sky probably is as well, just without the moon. So everything is mirrored except for the character and the moon. So you got Luna there with darkness above her, so she's evil. You can tell that straight away by looking at it. And then you got Princess Luna with the moon above her. There's light there, so she's happy, she's bright, she's good.
Mm-hmm.
This is
It's a really interesting use of lighting for sure
Exactly.
to kind of give you a mood for each of the sides.
exactly
Mhm.
yeah.
Because like you said, they are, the stars are flipped, and so is the trees and things like that. So they are
The
two
inconsequential
very
stuff.
similar scenes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But it uses lighting for the different moods of the sides.
Which
And
happens
the thing
a lot.
about this piece,
Yeah.
the thing about this piece that's different from the other two that we're about to show is it's a lot more figurative reflection.
Mhm.
Every single one has its own figurative reflection, because when you talk about Luna and Nightmare Moon and the interaction between them, obviously there's a lot of figurative reflection that has to do with their and like we've seen at least 10 or 12 different ones for this episode that we were considering that
Yeah.
have to do with Luna. Which is why we have so many today, because that's obviously the first thing you would think of when you think of pony reflection on the past, you know. But this one's a really cool style. The outlineless one, the very simple. It's almost like a vector styling.
I was going to
Mm.
say that, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's actually made
I don't
as
think
a vector,
it is
No,
vector. I
it's
think it's
not.
just very
but it's
yeah.
a similar style. Very
very clean painting.
exactly, and it's almost like you had one layer of color and then one layer of like a gradient shade, and like that's it, you know, very simple.
Yeah.
I think that's why it stood out to me so much.
Yeah. It's not like completely minimalistic, but it's a lot more minimalistic than like the show.
Yeah.
Obviously because you don't have the outlines. Like facial features are missing. Certain other aspects are missing too. The trees are very minimalistic.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Well, I think that's all part of it, because you don't need that. You don't need those things. This piece isn't focused on that sort of stuff. It's focused on the emotions of it. It's not focused on eyes, or it's not focused on detail. It's just focused purely on the emotional side of this,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah,
why I love
not
it.
the actual literal like looking.
Exactly.
They're not trying to draw your air. They're not really trying to draw your eye anywhere.
No.
Although they do kind of in certain different aspects, but the goal is not to draw your eye to a certain place.
Right.
Steve Holder's cool. I mean, they do that, because with that really bright moon up on the top panel, it draws your eyes away from the evil and towards the good.
Well, and even
that
on
does
the
happen.
other on the flip side, her eye
Yeah.
is also very bright. So that's
But it's
There
not
are
that
focal
Like I
bright.
said,
points.
there's
Yeah.
in all pieces there is a tendency to have your eyes drawn either intentionally or unintentionally. But what I'm saying is I don't think it was the goal of this piece to say I want them to look here and here. I think the
No.
goal of this piece was to give,
Mhm.
like you said, an emotional weight to it, and to give some sort of thought, you know, thinking about the difference between the characters and things like that. But we will come back to this piece in a second when we talk about all
Wait,
three. But we
wait,
should talk about the next
wait.
one.
One more thing about this piece.
Okay.
I mentioned framing in last week's episode with the Twilight in the library, and the framing in this piece is really well done with the outline of the trees and also the moon at the top and this kind of blackness like shadow at the bottom, because it kind of really it frames the piece.
And they create a literal border too.
Yeah.
You know what I would have been interested to see? I would have been interested to see how the piece looks without that black border. If it was an irregularly shaped piece that had the trees and the sky like as the cutoffs, I would kind of like to see what it would look like, because I think it might look good, but it also might change the mood of the piece, which wouldn't be good, you know?
Yeah.
An interesting thing to think about.
I do like having the black background because it blends with the bottom, and I don't know.
Also, their Tumblr on the Tumblr thing is just Stevehold is the universe.tumblr.com. This guy likes Stevehold.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the next piece is the one that I picked out. So I'm going to talk about it. It's Reflection by Soul Warrior with a 0 instead of an O.
Yeah.
This one again is a similar piece. This one is Season 2 Luna, sitting on top of some sort of water, and with a reflection of Nightmare Moon in a mirrored pose. This one again is a combination of the two, but it's a little bit more of a literal reflection. It's one of those movie reflections where it is a literal reflection, but it's changed to see what the pony is thinking about, to see what the character that's looking down in the water is thinking about. And I think it's a really cool thing that they put them in the same pose, because the last one that we looked at, they weren't in the same pose necessarily. She in the last one she was looking down. I don't want to talk about the last one too much, but in this one it's like, you know, it's like one of those things where the character would wave the arm over the water, and the character underneath would also do the same thing. You know, it's a reflection of their soul thing. I don't know. I'm bad at words, but
no, that works.
But I really like the style too. That was one of the most important things when I was picking out this piece in particular. It's got really thick outlines, and again, the coloring is not too complex, and I really do enjoy that in pieces. I don't like a huge amount of complexity, huge amount of texture. So that's something I really like in that.
What I find really cool is how the mane and tail of both Luna and Nightmare Moon merge at the reflection point.
Yes.
It's really cool.
I was going to say something if somebody else didn't.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect. It's not perfect either, which I think was really cool. They decided, even though the poses are in kind of the same position on both sides, the tail is still kind of flowy in a natural way that's not perfectly symmetrical. It's close, but not quite, which I think is a really accurate way to describe Nightmare Moon versus Luna. They are the same person, but they're not quite the same person, you know?
Yeah.
It is slightly different. It's got subtle differences in the characters representation. And while I was talking about simplicity in color and texture and design, what I did really enjoy was seeing the way that they did the mane and the tail. Just the way that it's a different style than what's done in the rest of the piece. Almost like it's a more watery feel to it, whereas the rest of the piece is much less watery. I don't know how to describe it, but it's almost like you're looking through the tail and looking through the mane in like a window through to this like mystical, spacey, cloudy area, which is really cool.
Yeah. Well, it definitely the tail and the mane definitely have that whole watercolor feel to them. I don't know. I don't think this piece is. Yeah, this piece is probably not a full watercolor, but the mane and tail definitely were done to look like it.
A lot of people nowadays are doing that faux watercolor, which is really interesting.
I would love to see this one as a real watercolor, like a traditional watercolor.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It'd be really interesting. But I do really love this style. I'm not sure what it is because I enjoy no outlines and I enjoy thick outlines, but sometimes a piece I just look at it and I think I am a fan of uh, simplified, not too many textures, not too many shades,
Yeah.
Um, and like we were mentioning before in the Twilight piece, this one's got a little bit of that fade. But what's really interesting is that you can't actually see the water. She's obviously resting on something, and there's little ripples that are coming out from around her.
Yeah.
But the artist has conspicuously left out the water.
Well, I mean, you have like if you look at the piece, you have this kind of lighter I don't know how to like it. It's oh, how do I say it? It's like a light spot on Nightmare Moon that kind of looks like a reflection of light on top of a surface.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in a triangle. It's like a blurred triangle. So you can see some sort of reflective surface, or at least your mind perceives it as some sort of reflective surface, and you have these ripples and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. It's like there's no discernment that it's water.
This is one
Yeah,
of
there's no discernible water, but
Yeah.
you have many indications that it is an actual reflection, like a literal reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, it's got those like the reflection is a little bit murkier than the actual pony is.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about that is Luna herself is kind of murky too,
Mm-hmm.
which is why the decision to not include the water is even more interesting because it's very vague in how it's doing this reflection.
Yeah, this is
Although
very, very vague.
this is one
Yeah.
of those cases like we talk about all the time where less is more. So when you first click on this and you open it up, you're like, and you're just looking at it for the first time, you think, oh look, it's Luna sitting on water looking down at Nightmare Moon. But then when you spend a bit of time looking at it, you think, well, there is actually no water, but you can see the ripples. So there is water, but there's no water. So it's really, really cleverly well done where at first glance, it looks perfectly normal. Then you look into it and it's more, there's more depth to it than that. So it's really well done, in my opinion. So yeah,
For sure.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we're all good. But
Yeah.
we should move on to the last one.
Yep.
So that we can have a retrospective. We can reflect back on
Uh,
all three of them.
I
So
get it.
I think Flutter Guy, you picked this last one, I believe.
Did I? Okay. So this last piece is called Mare of the Night by Shavita. And this also depicts, Nightmare Moon, and Luna, but it's flipped.
Whoa, guys, it's different. I swear.
I know. Well, the first two pieces, Luna was standing on top and reflecting on Nightmare Moon, and in this piece, in this piece, it's the opposite. Nightmare Moon is standing on top and reflecting on Luna. So it
In
kind of gives it a
herself.
different feel. Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, this also looks like a literal reflection because you have these like the ripples and stuff.
But once
although
again,
that-
the water is not physically shown, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
And it's also like the quote unquote water or the ripples or whatever is also tied into like Nightmare Moon's mane and tail. So it's like it's really cool.
This huge flowing mane and tail
really is amazing to me.
it's so this is what's really important when you're an artist. You have to consider the implications. You don't just this is like, if I may relate it to video games for a second, because
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to school for it. When you make a game, you don't just tell everyone, like you don't tell the players, this is what you do, this is what you do, go there, go there, go there, do that, do this. That's boring. That's not fun. You have to let the player learn things on his own and discover things, have a sense of filling in the gaps and discovery. And that's exactly what this artist is doing. They're instinctually, we fill in the gaps. We see the reflections, we see the ripples, and we immediately fill in the gap for the water. We
Mhm.
see the two ponies there, and we see the way that they're connected, and we immediately fill the mental gap to do with their connection between each other. And it's really important that you let people viewing your art not only give their own interpretation of that art, but also fill in the gaps of your art.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool because the mane in this piece is basically like a window into the reflection. Because if you go outside the main of Nightmare Moon, there's nothing.
It's just black.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for example, by her feet, because there's no main there, the reflection stops.
It's just a void.
And so it's not. It's literally like Luna is trapped inside, and the only way she can come out is through this window of the mane and tail.
Yeah. But yeah, like you were saying, it's like, when you see this piece, like first off, it looks like water, and it could be some sort of liquidy maney material.
But again,
whatever,
it's left up to the person who's viewing it.
One thing I wanted to bring up, about this one, which for some reason nobody else has yet, is the way that this artist, who's it, Shveta, has depicted Nightmare Moon in this. I get a sense so almost all the ones that you see of Nightmare Moon and Luna is Luna on top looking down or reflecting upon being Nightmare Moon, whereas this one is Nightmare Moon reflecting back upon about being Luna. So this is set before the season 1 opener, where Nightmare Moon is brought back to being good. So this is set sometime between those 1,000 years where Celestia had banished her to the moon, which explains why there's no water, because there's no water on the moon yet that we know of.
Great.
But
yeah, that's your own headcanon there. But
the way that Shveta has depicted Nightmare Moon in this, really, it's different to anything else that I've seen, because she doesn't have the white eyes. She's not standing there proudly being menacing. She's bent down, head down, which you don't see very often. She's kneeling a little bit, so it's like she is regretting her actions. It's like she's remembering being Luna, and she wants to be there again. She wants to be Luna again. She doesn't want to be Nightmare Moon.
Or at the very least, curious.
I didn't even get curious. I get regret from this. So I get sadness and I get regret. I don't get that. It's
Where do you keep pulling these interpretations of sadness out? I don't understand it.
No.
Keep pulling these interpretations. You're just looking for sad stuff. I can recommend a fan fiction if you want.
Thought a guy back me up.
I agree with him. The whole body position and with the head down and the knee bent and stuff is very remorseful.
Exactly.
Looking.
The reason why I disagree is that a lot of emotion in humans comes from eyes. And in both the pieces in which we've talked about the sadness, quote unquote, that you guys are seeing, I don't see it in the eyes. Maybe it's because we just have different interpretations.
It's not
maybe
just eyes.
Some of us can.
It's also body language.
But the body position, if you take the eyes into account and you put a different emotion on top of it, the body position doesn't mean anything, because if someone's leaning over to look at something, they're not necessarily sad. If I'm leaning over to look into the water, I'm not necessarily sad. It's all I'm saying is everybody has their own interpretations, but it's just funny that you guys keep seeing sad, because I don't see that at all.
I think it might also have something to do with the ears too, because the ears in this piece are back and kind of loose, whereas if someone's like curious or interested in something, usually the ears perk up, like your cat ears.
Yeah.
See, I disagree with that again, just because the way that I would interpret it would be if the ears were. I look at that as back and loose like you do too. But because I look at it as loose, I don't look at it as back as in like in a gesture of fear or sadness.
Yeah.
I don't look at it as that kind of thing. I just look at it as the ears are back and just relaxing. It's interesting to see the different perspective. Obviously, if you look at the bottom of the piece, Luna in the reflection is very sad. I don't think there's any debate there. She's sad. But it's interesting to see the different parts of it. We do have to quickly go through this, but the one more thing I wanted to mention was this artist does great wings, and that's
yeah.
Also, my theory takes into account your whole main portal idea, because Luna is part of Nightmare Moon. She's not part of the surrounding landscape. She's part of Nightmare Moon. She's inside her, and that's why it cuts off when it goes outside her main.
Yeah. Huh. I just wanted
Shveta's a really interesting artist, and so everyone should go check out Shveta, because it's someone that we haven't really featured.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
like it's almost an anime style of like Luna on the bottom.
Yeah, very
Um,
much so.
yeah. Okay, so let's if we wanted to touch on any of these three pieces really quickly. I mean, they're all fantastic pieces.
Well, I think the most interesting point is that all three of these pieces have some loose aspects of physical reflection and some very strong aspects of emotional reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I would have people take away from this is that if you look at all these pieces, the physical reflection is very it's very up to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is as clear as maybe our first piece where she's very clearly looking down into water. Everything here has its own interpretations of the reflections, and nothing is ever said explicitly. Nothing is ever shown explicitly as being this is an actual reflection. It's all very vague, and I think that's a really interesting idea that people should think of.
Well, that's like most reflections in a non-perfect reflective material is they're kind of muddied, and so that works for both literal and for metaphorical reflections or emotional reflections. It's up to interpretation or kind of muddied.
Yeah.
So cool. So that's the art for this week. Do we have some questions?
I'm glad we
some
have a questions. I am glad we have a questions guy who doesn't realize awkward silences mean it's his turn.
Hey, you should know all about awkward silences, right? After editing last week.
uh,
Anyway, I was waiting for the art to be finished, but now that it's finished and I've been told that it's finished, I can go on with the questions.
I was waiting
Yay.
for another awkward silence, but okay. Yes! Perfect.
Success.
Great. Okay, now you can move on to the questions.
Okay, questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so question number 1 this week. A very simple one. Why art? Sent in by Silver Rain Clouds.
Whew.
Hi, Silver!
Hi, Silver.
Do you want to go first, Plasma? Oh, bloody guy.
Do I? No. Shoddy not.
I got into art because I first started watching ponies and I got really into it and I loved it and I wanted to give something back to the fandom and I didn't know what to do, right? So I tried drawing, I failed miserably, I found vectors and I did that. But the reason I tried drawing first was because I've always had that little bit of a creative streak. I haven't been very good at it, so ponies has helped with that, but I've always loved painting stuff, I've always loved drawing stuff, I've always loved colouring in. I've just never been very good, and like I said, ponies has helped, which is why I got into art and why I kept going with art. And then this podcast came up and I've learned lots of stuff from Bernd, because he's the art teacher in this podcast.
Yeah, just Bird.
Yeah, he
sure.
is.
Okay.
But that's the reason why I chose art, because I've had a little bit of history with it. I've never had any teaching or anything, but I've always loved it. My parents have always known that I've enjoyed it, so that's why I chose art as opposed to making music, which I enjoy. I enjoy music, but I've never tried making it. I'm pretty good with crafty sort of stuff, but I haven't actually tried doing anything pony crafty. I should maybe try that if I can be bothered. I feel bad if I have to rip the head off a pony. So I
Yeah.
also don't have any paint. I forgot to get paint if I want to try that.
Yeah.
But all that sort of stuff I can sew, but I haven't tried it. Anyway, the reason why I stuck with art is because I've had more experience with art than I have with any sort of other creative medium, and I stuck with it, and I'm happy I did. Although I do want to try and do other stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I did art was, I mean, like, I've always been a person who's never been able to just sit back and, like, I've never been a person who's been able to sit back and just, like, leave something as it is, like, as a fandom, like, watching all different people do a bunch of things. Like, I've always been a creative person to a point where I'm always doing stuff and always a part of that fan stuff. So, like, I was gonna do something. And so the first thing that I did was art, and it just happened to work out with vectoring and stuff, and it worked out for me, so I stuck with it. But if vectoring wouldn't have worked, then I probably would have tried music and sucked at it. And then honestly, if that hadn't worked, I probably would have just I would have ended up making PMVs because I'm good at video editing. So I probably would have defaulted to what I knew, which would have been video editing, which would have ended up being PMVs because I like working with music and music videos and stuff like that. So it's interesting to think about that because, you know, for all intents and purposes, if it wasn't for this show, I probably would be making PMVs, and that's not a knock on the show or anything. It's just a different path that I took. And the interesting thing about this show is that while I don't feel like I'm a terribly talented artist, I do feel like I've always been a very analytical person, and I've been good at giving people critiques and good at kind of helping people out and looking deeply into things and mostly thinking. Like if there's something that I do better than anyone, it's think. And sometimes, most of the time, to my own detriment, but sometimes it comes out nicely. So, I think talking about art has really lent itself nicely to me. So that ended up working. But yeah, if it wasn't for art, I would probably be doing PMVs.
Yeah.
Shout out to if you want to learn how to make good PMVs, go watch How to Make a Pony PMV by Bvids.
Yeah, Bvids is cool.
Yeah.
Or just watch PMV on Everfree.
Yeah.
No, go watch the it's a good one.
Yeah.
So
So my story is kind of similar. I saw a lot of the fan art in the fandom, and I don't know, when I get involved in something, I kind of want to give back all the time. So vectoring seemed like it was fun, and I'm very technically minded, which is kind of why I do programming a lot. And so with vectors, it was kind of like a combination of the whole technical aspect and the whole creative aspect. And then like when we started getting into this show, it was really cool to me to like see the techniques used by certain artists to like get certain effects across. And like one of the coolest things to me is the whole color theory and like how certain colors have effects on the whole piece, like the piece as a whole. And I don't know, that's just like the technical person inside of me, like being really, saying that, oh, hey, this is something that's really cool and it's like really interesting to me. But like before ponies, I didn't really have any art history or anything like that. So
I think that's the most important thing that people can take away from that is the most interesting thing to me, at least, was that the four of us, we weren't artistically inclined. We weren't really, we didn't have practice in art. None of us are great. None of us are particularly great artists. We've come a long way, obviously, but that's where we all started, and we all kind of took the opportunity at the same time to do that. But what I find really interesting is that what this show gives us an opportunity to do is it gives us an opportunity to explore the world of art without having to be tremendously good artists. Like, I don't consider myself a very good artist, and like vectors is one thing, and I have a lot of respect for people to do vectors, but I feel like they're on a different kind of, they're just different for the most part from a lot of the digital art that I see out there.
Yeah.
I mean that's
and
not
also
that's not to degrade the quality of vectors. There are a lot of creativities that go into vectors.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said most. But like just it's probably because I'm self-depreciating too. But I don't consider myself a good artist. And so what this show has kind of given us an opportunity to do, or at least me, is to be able to view the world of art without having to be tremendously good or talented artists. We get to view and experience the learning about art and the creativity and all that kind of stuff without having to do that. So.
Some would say we can reflect on the artists.
Oh, you just ruined it. Move on to the next question.
Sorry.
Ruined it.
Grown. Okay, next question. Bernd, what do you think about why art for you, Bernd? Oh, good answer. Okay, moving on. That's all we need to know. If you guys could pick a book for all of your OCs or you yourselves to be stuck in until the end of the story, what would it be and why? It cannot be a comic book. Sent in by Pony.
Yeah, I'm gonna just rechange this question because the question was if you could pick a book for all of your OCs to be stuck in, but that doesn't really make any sense because none of us are our OCs, so
yeah,
I am my OC.
You don't really know how to answer that. So like we're just gonna change the question to be if you guys could pick a book for you
I
to
didn't
be
think
stuck
you
in.
had to explain that.
So yeah, go ahead.
I gotta think about this one. Miss Spark, do you know?
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I just looked over my bookshelf to see what I have the most collection of. I have all the Harry
Okay,
Potter
I was
series.
about to ask, like, are you? I was about to ask, like, are you a big Potter fan?
I have all of them sitting over there on my bookshelf. The other series that was the one that I mentioned last week, my favorite series, which was Tomorrow When the War Began. But I don't know if that's probably the best one to actually be in, even though whenever I read those books, I always imagine myself as doing that, like just being out camping and being a gorilla in that sort of situation. But
Right.
which
Yeah.
would be there's so many. Lord of the Rings,
I know.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
All right, calm yourself.
I'm
I can't choose.
Harry
Oh,
Potter's a
you've
good
given
choice.
You've given some good examples there.
Yeah. I'd probably just thinking back on like all the books that I've read.
Firefly the book.
No. I'm thinking like Redwall. would be
SVG
kinda
code and
cool.
how to manipulate it.
No, yeah, Redwall's a cool choice.
Yeah, Redwall. I don't know. I enjoyed that series, and I think it's a very cool environment, and it would be a lot of fun to be involved in that.
Cool.
Whole series.
My choice would be the choice that I had last week's with books. The Warrior series. That one of the reasons why I was so kind of drawn into those series is because in that series they all work on kind of clans, and they all have like different like positions like leader and deputy and different things like that, and they have apprentices, and then you grow up and you get a new name as you become an adult and things like that, and it's a really cool. I got sucked into it because I thought it'd always be cool to be a part of that kind of environment. You know, it's funny because I think that's kind of why I was like gravitating towards like hockey teams, because it's a similar thing where like on a hockey team you have all the players and they've got different positions, and like one's a captain and some are assistant captains and things like that, and in a similar sense, you know, I think it would be really cool to just like grow up and be a part of that, be a part of those books, because I really think that whole clan atmosphere is super cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
Also,
interesting.
I totally try to be a plasma star. To anybody who's read that book, it'll only make sense. Just to give a quick explanation, you're given a name when you're born, which is like, it's like a descriptive word, and then the second part of your name is like where you are in the clan. So, for example, let's use your name. So your name is Flutter Guy, right? So let's use Flutter. So when you were born, you'd be Flutter Kit. And then
and then you advance
when you're an
to
apprentice, you'd be Flutterpaw, which is adorable. And then when you're an adult, you get like a custom name, so you'd be like Flutter something. And then if you ever became the leader, you'd be Flutterstar.
That's cool.
So yeah, see, it's so cool.
I know. So
I want to be in that book.
You'd be Plasma Star. That'd be that's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I would be Warriors. It's a freaking cool book.
I really should read it. I haven't yet.
They've got like 60 books. I would not recommend getting into it. You're gonna get all your time sucked in.
Oh God.
Oh, good, like 400, 500 pages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of them. Like I said, you know, if you're into the books, it's like, yes. It's good. It's good.
All right. Well, thank you, Thestral Pony, and thank you, Silver Rain Clouds, for those questions.
Yeah.
If anybody else has anything else to say, if not, I'm going to move on to plugs.
Did you want to talk about the questions, or do you want to do that during plugs?
I'll do that
Let's do
right
it,
now. So please send in questions. We have like 3 questions to last us for the end of time. So please send us in more questions because we need some. Are you confused?
If I may interject, we've gotten a lot of like generic questions like, how did you become a brony?
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
Go back and watch our early episodes for those answers.
Yeah, so you know, I can't expect you to all know all the questions that we've ever answered. So, but feel free to send in multiple ones. Again, like feel free. They don't have to be art related. We like answering silly questions. We like answering.
I think a lot of the draw of our show is us, not so much the art that we show. So if you want to ask questions about us individually, that's fine. Just also know that we are an art show, so we do answer art questions as well.
But we do need questions. So
Well,
if
yes,
you want to
yes.
send in questions, and if you want to get on the show with have your name here on the top of the screen thingy, then now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Are you
'Cause
confused as to where to send those questions? I'll tell you soon. Play again?
Yeah, we don't want to have to make up questions because we tried that before and it didn't end well.
It sucks.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm not good at words.
Yeah.
Also, don't send us in the question, "Can I be on your show?" Because it's just yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so plugs.
Plugs. Okay, so as I said before, send in questions to cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com. Please put in what you're sending us in the subject line, whether it's questions or art or whatever you want to do. Just put that there so Gmail filters it for us. Our DeviantArt page is cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. Our individual pages are linked there as well, so you can find us if you want to talk to us directly. You can also find art from today and also stuff we haven't been able to show from today. We have a Facebook, which is Cutie Art Crusaders on Facebook. Go there, give us a like. We post some strange things every now and then. We have quite a few likes already, so you're joining a big group of people there. Twitter, which is @CutieArtCrusade. We post up-to-the-minute statuses, not statuses, I don't know what, tweets. That's it, tweets on Twitter. Up-to-the-minute tweets as to whether or not there's technical difficulties or just little fun things like that when there's new stuff on our channel. Speaking of channel, we have a YouTube channel, which is Cutie Art Crusaders on YouTube. We post our own individual videos there, as well as links to when Everfree Network updates our video. You can contact any of us on all of those forms of media. So you're never at any of a loss of how to contact us. If you're on the DeviantArt, you're talking to me. YouTube Burned. Twitter is Rainbow Plasma, and Facebook is Flutter Guy. So if you want to find us, that's the way to do it. That should be about it. Everyone should know how to find us by now.
If Burned would ever get me the stupid outtakes, then maybe I can make another outtakes video. I was supposed to get him from him today, but I think he's disappeared into the ether. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not really sure where he is.
awkward.
So, we the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we haven't thought of a theme yet, but we will by the time that Rainbow Plasma gets around to editing this. So look up in the video and you can see our theme.
The next theme is this.
Yay!
Yeah, I like this. Do you guys like this?
I like it.
I don't know, I can't
Love
see it. Can you
this.
make it a little bigger, please?
No, enough of that. No,
Hey,
no,
hey.
stop! No,
Hey,
shut
hey,
up!
hey.
No.
Can you zoom in on the derp face?
Rainbow pickle. No, color pickle. That's right. Color pickle.
Thank you guys for watching, whether or not you're on YouTube or live stream. We love you all the same. I'm gonna go now, and I'm going to murder my co-hosts. And it'll be a fun time. It'll be a fun time. I might stream it.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
hide in a closet.
I gotta
Good,
go
good,
vote.
good.
Well, first I gotta figure out where to vote.
Anyways, my name is Rainbow Plasma,
I'm FlutterGuy317.
And I am at Lost Mark.
and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.